Well, this is the coaching chats with Marina and Caroline,
It
and
is.
we're so excited to be
I
here.
know.
I think the first thing that we have to do, right, Marina, is to introduce ourselves and let the world know who we are and what we're about. I'm so excited for this.
Right. Would you like me to start?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay,
Who
cool.
are you, Marina?
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Huh?
I am I'm Marina Baranowski, and I am the founder of the Coaching Marina. I am a life coach for Gen X, 40 and over, hitting some blockages. There's a list a mile long, for what happens in midlife, and I like to get to the juicy bits of it and try to figure out how clients can move forward. There's feeling stuck, or they're feeling like things aren't going their way, or and they're just trying to figure some things out. So I provide a space for them, and especially for our Gen Xers, and you know what I'm talking about, which is you don't have a person, you don't have some place to go to that you can just say something or feel something or emote something and it not be ridiculed or judgment. There's a lot of judgment and stuff. So I feel like I needed to create a space for those like me that want a place to talk, want a place to heal from. And that's what I like to do at the Coaching Marina. I
Yay!
know. It's so exciting.
I love it. I'm Caroline Day. I am the founder and CEO of Safe Data Change. It is a coaching business for women between the ages of 25 and 45 who would like to overcome fear paralysis and become fierce. And I love it. And the way that we met was we're both Jay Shetty certified life coaches. I started my Jay Shetty journey last year and became certified, officially certified in January of this year, and quit my 9 to 5 in April of this year to do this full time. How about you, Marina?
Oof. I have been on a life coaching quest for quite some time, I would say over the last 3 years. However, when I kept being bombarded with, you need to go to the Jay Shetty Certification School, I was like, okay, fine. So I joined and I graduated, gosh, June. So it's been almost 6 months since my certification, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
agree. What do you think was the best thing about becoming certified through the Jay Shetty Certification School? This is not an ad, by the way.
No, no,
We're
no, no, not an ad at all.
yeah.
Um, what I found was there were bits in there that opened up further doors. Like I already had opened up doors on my own, but there was some information in there, some really like deep aha moments when I'm going, oh, that's what's happening, or that. So having that understanding within yourself and being able to heal for yourself with that information. It was just gold. It was just super great. And then being able to turn that into a passion to help other people achieve that, that's where I was like, so it's so exciting to be able to do
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, it was, first they give you a methodology, right? The ABC method on how to really guide clients from, where they are now to where they want to go. I think that was really helpful. I
Yeah.
think the whole process is really nice. I think that they have a shorter version and then they have a long version, so you can take your time too in becoming certified. I loved all of the training because it was done by all of the videos are done by Jay Shetty, and it's so rich. I remember even like 20 minutes of a lesson would take me an hour to digest, honestly, because I wanted to take my time understanding what he was talking about and what that meant for me so I could translate it to the clients. And I think having like 40 hours just during the training was extremely helpful for you to kind of see if you want to become a life coach,
Yeah.
because it gives you an opportunity to actually listen to people and kind of practice what your next questions are. How do you take them through that journey of discovery? And how do you set goals for them? How do you check with them? And how do you check with yourself? Because you also needed to check with yourself and see how you were doing it as a coach. So it was, for me, it was extremely helpful in discovering that I wanted to become a coach.
Gosh, well said. Honestly, well said. The reflection piece, that you would mention that, just sitting with it and being able to take that time and seeing how it affects you, and how you were able to deal with that was so helpful for me. Just even if it was just sitting within that moment and going, wow, this is the impact that I could have, that there's the juice. It was good
I know, I felt that. I was like, yes, impact.
packed,
So
boom,
well
and
played.
that's it.
Yeah.
So, what I also found after graduating was life coaching. People don't know what that is.
Hmm.
So, can you talk to us a little bit about what life coaching is for you?
Yes, absolutely. And I love that question so much. I actually have a video on my website that talks about the difference between a therapist and a coach, only because, especially when I transitioned fully to becoming a coach from my corporate job, people were thinking, like, are you going to see patients? And I go, no, I don't have patients. I have clients. I don't have a background on psychology. I don't have a PhD. I'm not able to diagnose anybody's, disorder or disease or patterns. I would never be able to do that. What I do is what life coaches do is really taking our clients through a journey. There's really a difference. I think for a therapist, they will look into your life history to look for patterns that they can identify to help them and guide them through any issues that they're having. For us, we're trying to guide them through the journey of what to go, how to move forward. It's really about looking outwards and seeing how you can move past. And I think we talked about this before, not today, but we did talk about this, Marina, because I love the way that you say it, how we do look at the past, because we sometimes have to identify what is holding the person back. And if there are any patterns that we as coaches can identify, that they may need to see. And so we kind of point out, if there's anything that they haven't seen in their past that is preventing them from even having conversations and answering their own questions to move forward. And so, like, I'd love for you to have a little bit on that too, because I know
Yeah.
you speak very beautifully on that.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's the mirror that we hold up as coaches. We need to be, as the client is talking, we need to be able to say, let's look at this from either a different angle or just a straight on angle. There is something about taking that moment that the client is talking about and giving them the space to be in that moment, but asking them to look at it from different angles, asking them to look to the right of them, to the left of them, above them, behind them. What is happening within that moment? Who are the players involved in this? And being able to maybe have an understanding or awareness of what's really going on. Because when we're in a moment that is very um, intense for us, we're not thinking about the other person or the situation that we're in. We're generally focused on, how we're feeling at that particular moment, especially if it is a pretty difficult situation. We're not looking at the whole thing. So, as a coach, what I like to do, and again, I'm a mindset and perspective coach, is give them a different perspective, give them a different view of a situation that maybe have affected them their whole life, and just go, well, asking them those questions. What do you think is going on? Or what do you think that that person is feeling also? Within those moments, within that time, that they're in that memory, we're able to pull out and go, okay, how do we move forward with that different awareness? How could you now rewrite your story based on your new awareness? So
Mm,
this is what we do. We hold up mirrors in, and the client will be able to rewrite their story.
yeah, I love what you just said because for me, how I heard it was almost like a point of reference.
Right,
You have one point of reference at which you're looking through, right? Or maybe one set of lenses.
right,
And you go, are there other lenses available for you to look through? Like, what would happen if you remove this lens?
right,
Like, how can you see it differently? And so you give them different perspectives because perhaps in those different perspectives, there is a path forward, there is a way forward. And while before, with the lenses they were looking through, there wasn't an option. And so by removing some of these like perspectives, you give them an option, right? I love that so much. For me, I think it's, and I think I told you that before, I see myself as almost like a flashlight, right? When I see my clients, I think we're both playing Marco Polo at this point, right? Like when it's a brand new client, I don't know where they are in their journey. And they sometimes feel stuck. They also don't know where they are in their journey, right? And as they're telling me, I'm asking the questions, they're telling me, it's almost like I'm getting closer and closer and closer to them. And then eventually I find them exactly where they are, right? And it takes vulnerability, right? Because the person has to really tell me where they are, and they have to really kind of understand where they are. Because if they're telling me they're in this place, but they're somewhere else, I'm not able to find where they are. So it takes vulnerability to say, this is where I'm really at. And so once you find them, then that's when you look out and go, where do you want to go next? I see you. I see where you are. There are possibilities. So I love that we do this. Before we move forward, I kind of want to tell them because I graduated in January, you graduated in June. So how do we even meet, right? How do we know of each other?
right. Okay, so through the school offers us some connects. So we jump on calls and we meet other coaches, and we always found each other like in the same rooms, the same meetings, and we were very, very drawn to each other. You're delightful. I've every single time that we have spoken there. It's just I love your energy, and so we felt that way about each other. So we reached out to each other, and that's that's basically how we ended up meeting.
Yeah. And I love your story so much. I'd love for you to, tell our audience a little bit about your story because when we decided, and like she said, we were in a lot of breakout rooms together. And it's funny because we had these like monthly connects through our school, and we would attend these meetings and they would randomize who would meet with who, but somehow Marina and I would
Yeah.
always end up in the same room. And every time she talked about anything or she was trying to support another coach or another coach had a problem and she would just speak her wisdom, I'm like, she's so amazing. I want more of this. I need to know more,
Oh,
and so I decided we decided to have a chat together and I said, we need to collaborate. We need to do something. We need to tell your story to the world because the world deserves this wisdom and this beauty that you are. And so please enlighten the world with your
okay.
story. I think it is a beautiful one.
Thank you. My story begins, well, like most of us does. We have a set of rules to our lives that were given to us by our parents. And I very much lived by that, all of my life. There's a box, you get married, you have kids, you get a job, you have, this is the rules to success. And once you get all of these things, then you're going to be happy. And I did all of those things and I wasn't happy. I tried to fool myself, with that. but it hit me harder. I got divorced and I had two young children at that time. They're adults now, but they to watch the evolution of one myself, trying to find the strength within myself, always knowing that I had something to offer and something to give in this world, but not sure what that was. I started seeking more stuff within my job because I felt like if I had importance there, then I would, feel better about myself. So trying to climb the ranks, I was in the mortgage industry for a really long time. And the universe tried to take the bottom out in 2008, and I was like, no, we're going to keep going. It should have been my indication then that I needed to try something different, but it wasn't. Throughout all of these things that was happening, my inner knowing would surface every once in a while. It would say, that little intuition hits, as I would like to call them, like, you're not supposed to be doing this, or, this is uncomfortable. It's feeling, I'm not going to, it's just my gut telling me, I'm going to go with what everyone else says. And roughly about 4 years ago, yeah, it's almost 4 years ago, there was like a climactic, like cataclysmic, if you will, situation where my my husband and I were at a crossroad, and we came to this conversation, very different than any other conversation that we ever had before, which was we're going to lay our cards on the table. We're going to have a really difficult conversation and we're going to lay it all out. And whatever happens, happens. We're going to say how we feel. We're not going to mask things anymore. We're not going to put rosy pictures on things anymore. This is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling. And within that initial conversation, that lasted 3 days. We were able to have and provide each other this beautiful, safe space where there was no judgment, there was, heated information, but we were able to set the table as we're going to have this conversation because what do we have to lose?
Mm.
And we walked away from it. I walked away from it changed, and so did he. But I walked away from it changed enough that I go, how come people aren't doing more of this? How come people aren't being honest? How come people aren't really just embodying what they want in a partner? Does that make sense? Like I felt like I needed to be what I wanted from my husband.
Mm. Tell me a little bit more about that because this is a little bit different than the first time I heard, and I love it because I feel like you went a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Were you comfortable like talking about like what came out of that conversation and what are some of the realizations you had?
The realization was that I was putting on a mask, and that would change. So it would be the people pleasing mask. It would be and again, depending on the mood, I would always be shifting and changing myself and not being an authentic version of myself within the relationship. So I had masks. So that would be like, I'm the mom, I'm the wife, and putting all of these labels on who I am. Instead of being me, instead of being Marina, instead of being, I didn't know who that was. And out of this conversation, I was able to at least open the door, that initial opening of the door to say, all right, here's your awareness. You're not being true to you. You're laying it on the table here. And now you can build on it. you
Okay.
know.
What were some of the questions? Were there questions that made you feel like, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. This is how I feel.
It's just it's within the moment, what started out like this is how I feel about this,
Hmm.
and this is how you make me feel, and this is how, this is how I am living at this moment. My reality is this,
Hmm.
and that is my truth. And then he would go, this is my reality and this is my truth. And even though that may have in the past been a conflictable, situation, we were able to put that aside for a minute and say, how do we change this?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What I want from you, or what I would like to see is this,
Mm.
you know, and a
And so what
lot.
happened next?
What happened next really was, and still is, years of just continuing to provide each other that space. There is it takes more than love
Mm.
in a marriage.
Yeah. Was
You
that in New York? Because I know, like, audience
Yeah,
doesn't know, but you were in New York
I
when
was in
this
New York.
happened.
Yes, I was in New York, but actually, no, that was here in Florida. We moved after we moved. That was after we moved. So, we were together a decade, before we were able to, to have that moment together.
Hmm.
Because what happens is that you are still living within that paradigm. You're living within that, I have to, keep this marriage going. I have to have my job. I have to take care of the kids. The kids come first. All of these rules that you set within your life. And that doesn't align. And when that doesn't align, you feel it. You feel it physically, you feel it emotionally, you feel it in your bones that something's wrong.
Hmm.
But because you were told that this is what's supposed to happen, this is what you go with, instead of seeking something that is more aligned to you.
Oh, I love that you shared this. This is so different. I think it's better. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
thank you for being so open. I
Um,
mean, you started it. I got chills because it's so similar to what I had experienced, right? And I think that's why probably we connected so deeply, is because when you were saying it, I was like, wow, I'm going to repeat her and it's going to feel like unauthentic almost, right? Because it was the same, right? Like there are these like standards, right? Societal standards that this is what you do and this is the order at which you do,
right,
you know? So you have to, like there is an order to it. You have to graduate, you have to get a job, you have to get married, you have to, buy a house, you have to have kids and live happily ever after,
right,
right? And then you kind of like, okay, like I'll do this. If I do this, I succeed. And then you achieve all of it and you're like, I'm not succeeding. I don't feel successful inside, and I hit all of these, right? Like, but I don't feel successful. I don't feel like I'm fulfilled.
right,
But I did everything. So what does that mean? Am I being ungrateful? You start questioning yourself, right? Am I being ungrateful? Why I'm supposed to be happy. If I told somebody that I'm not happy and I have all of this, what does that mean? You know? And so there's a lot of judgment from others and from yourself with your own feelings, right? And I think for me, I couldn't stop crying. 2019, it was when I hit a wall and I didn't even know why I was crying. To be completely honest, it wasn't like the job was bad. It wasn't like the family wasn't good. It was, I had no idea why I was in so much pain. But, it's interesting how you said like it happens in your body because also when something is wrong, you feel it in your body. When
yeah,
you no longer want to accept your reality as is, you feel it in your body. Your body starts to tell you you're not in the right path. And then when you find yourself in the right path, it kind of feels different. It's almost like, yes, this is it. It kind of draws you in as opposed to repels you, right? And my journey was, again, similar in the way that I achieved everything, but it wasn't what I wanted. And I'm not saying it's not what I wanted. I think there are a lot of things that I achieved that I love and I wanted. I have a marriage of 14 years. I have a child, my daughter is 10. And so it's not like I didn't want it, but it was almost like I was doing it according to the rules. It wasn't like my rules, you know? But now that I had the opportunity to look at my life holistically and like really as its entirety, I was able to then say, what is it now that I get to keep and what do I want to get rid of? I was in a place in my life that I was like, okay, now I have a choice. Before I felt like I didn't have a choice. And so the first path was really to forgive myself because you feel guilty, right? By a lot of things, by your choices that you made earlier, because somebody else told you that it was the right thing to do. And they weren't wrong. There's some people that live really well by doing these steps exactly in this order. By the way, there's nothing wrong with it, right? I think it's only like the fact that you want to do it because you want it as well,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so when you don't do it, then that's when you have the time to go, what do I want? Oh, I still want this. Okay. But what don't I want anymore? And so I had to go through this journey of letting go of so many things. I let go of a lot of beliefs that I had. I let go of a lot of conditioning. I had to ask myself a lot of questions to start, like, what is it that I want to keep in my life? And what is it that I want to let go in my life? And how do I do that without crazy disruption?
Right.
Because it takes a lot and it, right? I
It
know.
really does. It does. It takes a lot. And there has to be an intentional, you have to be intentional with it because you've lived that way for so long. It's so easy to fall back into those old mindsets, those old way of thinking. So you have to seek it out every single day and say, you know what, I'm going to be working on this, whatever it is that you choose to work on. And it's going to be something that is at paramount. It is of super importance because I feel better at the end of the day.
Mm.
You
So
know,
let's go back to your story because I want to know what was the first thing that you did, like once you started like realizing that
yeah.
you weren't being authentic. What was one of the first things that you did after realizing I'm not being authentic?
Yeah.
What was the next?
Fact-finding missions. I went on fact-finding missions. I was like constantly looking for information. Someone
Mm,
else has to feel this way. I can't be the only one. I need to find something that is going to help me guide me through this process. So I didn't know anything about life coaches at that time. So I just did my own search and read as much as I possibly could. Um, I needed to find a way to find clarity,
mm,
and I needed to know for myself. I wasn't going to put that onus on my relationships. And I mean that all of my relationships, my husband, my children, my family, I wasn't going to put it on them because it's not up to them. This is self. So I needed to find my own truth on how to heal and what has affected me so much so. And what I found was that I hid away so much stuff in what I called the vault. So something would be a negative energy, let's just say, a negative energy situation, something that I felt hurt or I felt, bad or I felt, and I would not process it. It would go into a vault and I would go to sleep, and the next morning it would be gone and I wouldn't be affected by it anymore. And I did that for decades.
wow.
So when this awakening happened, I felt I started feeling things. Once I started like, why is this affecting me? Oh, you want to know? Guess what? Here it is. And I would systematically go back in my head to difficult times in my life, and I would do my own assessment. What
Mm,
was going on within that moment? Was my mother yelled at me, or, had a situation. What was going on in my mother's life at that time that she felt that, she needed to be that harsh with me, let's just say, and then I would go, you know what, that wasn't my fault, or that wasn't an energy that should have went to me. That was something that was happening, for her. Having that different perspective, and again, you're coming at it from an adult point of view, an adult lens, like you were talking about. And you get to that point where you go, you know what? It wasn't me. It's not my fault. I can heal this
mm,
situation, that memory, and that shouldn't affect me anymore. And being able to do that in multiple times in my life, things that I would carry with me. Well, if this happened, I wouldn't. But here is the good stuff. I got to a point that I am appreciative and grateful for everything that has happened in my life. Because if I didn't have those moments, then I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't. I
mm,
wouldn't have the understanding and the empathy for those who have gone through those same things.
mhm,
I wouldn't be able to love so deeply if I didn't have those
mm.
things happen.
That's beautiful. I want to ask you something because you said that you were able to go back to memories and you were go back to, that younger self and see that it wasn't your fault, that there were other things happening,
Yeah.
and you were able to. So some people are not able to do that, especially not by themselves.
No.
So how did you learn this method of like going back into your um, experience in the past and see the perspective from another lens and then go and nurture that girl that needed protection? Like, where did you learn? Like, how did you learn to do this? Because some people don't know how to do this, definitely not on their own.
What was very interesting is that my husband asked me questions.
Mhm.
I, would tell him what would happen is that the memory would come to me at a very inopportune time. Like, so I would be in the middle of, let's just say, folding laundry, and then a memory would pop up. Once you open up the gates, sometimes it just comes to you. And I would say, you know what, I remember this situation. And I would tell him the story, and he would then ask me those questions. Well, what was
Oh,
going on? And
yeah.
what do you think was, and within that first time, I'm like, you know what? I could do that. I could do that with everything. I could do that myself and be intentional about it. Oh, I remember this thing that happened. Okay, I'm going to write that thing down, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to meditate and I'm going to be intentional about what I want to do with that memory and heal myself. And I'm not saying it happens with one time. Sometimes it takes a long time to see all aspects of that same thing, but it's all trial and error. What works for me may not work for you, but being able to be open to the process, being able to go through those hard things to clear the way for what comes today and what comes for your future, because you can't, if you're holding on to something almost like a very thin energetic thread that is like tied up in knots, and if you don't work through those knots, you're not going to be able to move forward because you're going to have everything tied up behind you.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I'm asking you that because when, like when I was feeling all the feelings that I had, I had to come across people that were teaching how to do it,
Right.
right? The first thing that I did a 21 days with Deepak Chopra, 21 days of meditation in 2020. And I
Wow.
had no idea what it was like to meditate because I was a prayer, right? Like I was always praying. I grew up Catholic. And so I knew how to pray and how to talk to God, but I didn't know how to meditate. And so I learned how to meditate with him. And then I learned how to take full responsibility and ask questions through Jack Canfield, the author of, the Chicken Soup for the Soul and all of the chicken soups, right? And then I learned different phases of how to really go from victim, like things are happening to me, to things are happening for me, like the manifester, to things are happening through me with Michael Beckwith. And so I had these guidances. It's
Wow.
not like I learned because you're saying really powerful things. I just wanted to know, like, what was your experiencing learning? Where did you learn it? Because
Yeah.
some people,
I
they
mean,
don't
like you
have it.
said, there's many, many teachers that I have, read and I would guess my first inclination was when The Secret came out.
Okay.
That was like whenever that came out, that's when it was. Okay. Like, and it felt so aligned to me, but I pushed it aside because it was easier to fall back to the so, Beckwith and Canfield, like all of that, yes, yes, and yes, learned from them. I think you have to you have to find what is aligned to you. Because what I felt also was that something would be aligned to you, or you say, yes, this is truth. Like to me, I have to feel it on an energetic level that it is connected to me in some way.
Mhm.
And you had mentioned the meditation piece of it. Yes, again, very similar in that respect, that praying was always there, always praying. But the definition that I have that's resonated with me was praying is asking, where meditation is listening.
Mm, that was yummy.
But that's what I'm saying. Like this is
Very
when I
beautiful.
heard that, I'm like, yes, because I can pray and I can meditate.
Oh, that's
If I'm asking a question, I need to meditate so I can hear the answer.
I love that. I think for me, uh, when I was praying, I was so limited. It was almost like going to church, right? Like and I have nothing against it. My
Ooh,
parents are religious and go to church every week. Um, but I'm talking about my religion. My religion was almost like in between four walls. My religion was like, this is what I do. And then when I do, this is my conversation with God, right? Like it was just finite almost. It was very limited. Even though I felt like he had abilities to go further, not me. I had this limited ability. And then when I pray to him or, God or the source, right? That has way more ability than me. And so he is everything and he is the universe. And so he can provide the answers to me. But I was finite. And then when I started meditating, I started to transition my understanding and learning that I was infinite, just like the creator. And for me, it expanded my vision in so many directions. It was
right.
this huge thing. I felt so abundant. I felt like I was limitless for the very first time. It was almost like I broke those walls. It's like, no, I'm not unlimited and I'm asking this like higher power. I am a higher power because I am with him. I'm co-creating with him. And that for me was just like expansion, immediate, it felt really, really big.
Ooh, I'm gonna take that in for just a second. Ooh, and I absolutely agree with you. What the way I look at it is in for me, and again, this is just for me. God is not just a man sitting in a chair up in the sky. Our brains cannot comprehend the greatness that is God, the creator, the source. And
I
we
think it can now. See, that's the difference. But before I,
I am, it is like it's even beyond that. Like to my brain, I can comprehend oh so much, and then I'm like, like it goes crazy. What you consider that you are a piece of this. You are
Mhm.
brought here on this earth to experience things and to enjoy this life and to serve and to love. And those are the reasons why we're here. So if everyone is looking for like, what is my purpose? Your purpose is to love, but you gotta and to serve, but you have to figure out what that is. How are you
Yeah,
going to love and how are you going to serve? And that is individual.
for sure. And how did you get there? Because you were in insurance, right?
Mortgages, yeah,
Mortgages.
finance, yes.
So how did you go from finances to then realizing all of this, like, what was going on with you, being able to go back and be nurturing to yourself and healing, and then going, I want to do this with others. Like, how did the process go for you?
The process, I guess I have been blessed with a very good sense of intuition. And I have been fighting it for all of my life. And if I went back and I thought of all of the times that I'm like, oh, why did that happen to me? I could all tie it back to what it was I was asking for. So when I started learning about The Secret and, the universe and law of attraction and I asked to be happy. I want happiness and I want, so I'm asking for these things. And basically, God was like, sure, okay, no problem. We're going to remove all of these things. Here are the walls that we're going to put up for you. Here are your challenges. Because in order to get to that happiness place that you say you want to be at, we're going to have to give you these challenges for you to overcome because you can't be happy in this.
Wow. What did that look like?
Well, that looked like abandonment. That looked like depression. That looked like, I mean, some really hard times. And I had to, that's when, divorce and children and, just being able to have your whole life uprooted. There was many things, there was many endings that had to happen in order for me to get to the point where that happiness was a reality.
Wow. That's such a simple but beautiful thing, right? Like, because I feel like a lot of people will crave just
Oh,
happiness. Like,
yeah.
so what makes you happy now?
Oh, it really just depends on what your definition of happiness is.
What is your definition of happiness?
My definition of happiness is with myself having a beautiful understanding that everything has a reason and everything is working in my best interest.
Mm,
And when I say it is not like a belief, there's a difference between believing something and knowing something. Like I know that everything is going to work out.
mm.
No matter what happens, no matter what I choose to do, no matter what, everything is going to work out. I may have bumps in the road, but everything is going to work out. Always.
And that's your happy place.
And that's my happy place is that, but taking the time, and I know that we have spoken about this, taking the time to live in the moment, to breathe in for a second and look over at the people around you and go, you know what? This is great. I just want to just absorb this moment for a second. And that may look like sitting on the couch with your spouse and just looking over and going, gosh, I'm so happy and lucky just being here on the couch, watching TV, watching something stupid. We're holding hands and we're just sitting here. And I just want to bottle this moment. It
Mm.
isn't, it isn't, it comes in the moments of being on the phone, let's just say with your child who's long distance and just going, I love this conversation. I want to remember every bit of it. That's
Mm.
my happiness. My happiness is knowing that when I am present here, right now, and that I am blessed in this moment to be here and experience the things that I'm experiencing, that's my happiness.
That's why I wanted everybody to know you. Well said. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for saying that. It did feel like, even though you were trying to find the word presence, it felt like you were the whole time looking for it. Like, I just want to sit here. I just want to be in the moment with my daughter on the phone. Like, it almost sounds every time that you just are so happy when you're in the present moment, living the present moment, and also present, presence and gratitude.
Totally.
Gratitude and presence is what I kept on hearing. Like, presence.
And that's
So
it. And
present.
and trying to describe that, like I can say gratitude and I can say presence. But that's how I am, in every single moment, every conversation, everything that is happening, every story I hear, every client that comes to me is presence. It is being able to enjoy something every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Being grateful for that.
I love that so much. I was actually talking to somebody earlier today about this, how the first time that I went to look for help, I went to a therapist because I didn't know what was going on. I was like, something's wrong with me. My life is good and I'm crying. And I remember she asked me to close my eyes for 5 minutes. And I remember Marina being so upset because I paid for 50 minutes and she was asking me to take 5 minutes and close my eyes and not talk to her. And I remember closing my eyes going, this is going nowhere because I was so uncomfortable just being in the presence, like you said. For me, it was just like I had to be doing something. I was so uncomfortable in my body. I had to be out of my body doing something, and very uncomfortable being in the present moment. I felt like 5 minutes was an eternity, you know and I think that's why it's so important to work with people who doesn't have any experience with this,
Right.
because sometimes people are just not comfortable in their own body and they don't know. It's not their fault. They don't know. They are so conditioned to do. I have to act and be doing something in order for me to get something,
Yeah.
because if I sit down and do nothing, I feel guilty. I feel like something's wrong. I feel like I'm behind. And it's normal. It's more normal than people think because we're so conditioned to these things, right? And so I think for me, having this purpose of like translating what that means, meeting the person exactly where I was in the past,
Yeah.
unable to be present. And I mean, that really, I'm so glad you said that, like we're closing it out in such a beautiful note because you embody presence. You
Oh,
really do. And
just
I feel like maybe that was the biggest connection that we had because I wasn't able to be present with myself. For some reason, I wasn't feeling safe just being. And now that I love just being, it gives you freedom to think. And because of what you said, because when you sit with yourself and you're present, you get answers. You're
do.
not asking, you're receiving.
Right.
It's completely different. And I think I got drawn to you, especially because you're this presence. I feel it every time I talk to you. You're fully present. And I'm able to give that to people now when I wasn't before. And I feel like that's why coaching is so important, because it gives the opportunity of people to learn what it's like to just being in the present moment. So this was just wonderful.
Oh, kids, hello. I am so, and again, being super grateful. I'm so grateful for you. Just being able to find someone on the same frequency and being
100%.
just being able to express yourself. And again, this is where that safe space is, and that's what coaching does. You are in a space where you can just be, you can talk, you can express yourself. And I want to share that. I want to
Me
share
too.
that with others.
I love that. Is there anything else? Like, is there a takeaways or anything that you want to share before we close it out?
Um, My takeaway from the whole thing, obviously, is just having that gratitude that we have each other, and that we are able to support each other. Even though we may be doing the same thing, um, we support each other, and within that love and within that respect for each other, we're going far, we're going to go places.
Oh, I love that. Yay!
What
The
about
coach
you?
reading. 100%. I think for me, one thing is people are so afraid of sitting down because they don't know what's going to come. They're so afraid of the unknown. They're so afraid of what happens if I do find the answers.
Yeah,
A lot of people are afraid of the consequences of it. Like what if I do discover that I don't like my husband? Well, what does that mean? Like people are just afraid of because they know that they might see something that is going to be very uncomfortable to undo. And
yeah,
so they leave it there in what you call the vault, right? Like just stuff it, somewhere I can't where I
yeah,
can't see because and that's why people are afraid. They are afraid to sit down because they are afraid to actually get answers. Maybe they do know deep down that they will listen to something. They will get their answers. But then how do I navigate through the next part knowing my answers now? That is very scary, It's a scary moment. And so for me, my mission is to be a helping hand. Like if I can inspire somebody to look at it, to just take a minute and maybe see if they are in the point of their lives where they do want to explore something and to find help. I know you did it. You said you did a lot of it yourself, but I do recommend people to do it
I agree.
together with someone
I agree.
because alone you can do just so much. With other people, you can do a lot more. And it was only when I decided I'm going to look for a coach, I'm going to look for a therapist. I do want to help myself get out of this situation. You get a lot more from talking to other people and finding a safe space for that because it is possible. Every day is a safe day to change. So,
I love that so much. And that safe space is where I created and why I created the Coaching Marina, because I used my name and the definition of my name, which is that's the place that sailors came to when they needed respite, when they needed to rest and to recharge. So I figured may as well use my name in that and
that's right. The marina. That's beautiful. I
so
didn't know what.
that's why I named my coaching business the Coaching Marina, because I wanted to provide that space, that rest, that safe area where you could just recharge.
Yeah, it's where you anchor. Oh my gosh, what a powerful name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I can't wait to do this again.
Oh, we're going to do this again. We have to do this again. Obviously, if is any topic specific that anyone wants to talk about or wants to hear us talk about, they should just drop that in the comments and just let us know, right?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good idea. Yes, let's do that. If they want to talk about a topic, I think they should choose it. Oh, I'm excited. Thank you so
Yes.
much for your time. You
Oh, thank
are
you.
a light too.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoy talking to you. I'm glad that we're doing coaching chats
Too.
because I feel like people can benefit and get inspired and they're, feel free to reach out to the Anchor Marina. Uh,
The coaching
um,
Marina and safety.
yeah, this is beautiful. All right.
Thank you so much, and catch you on the next one.
I'll see you next time. Bye,
Bye.
guys.